Hello, people. We are back at To The Podcast, episode 180, and we are back. It is
your girl Tash, the co-hostess with the mostest.
And it is your boy, International Walt. You guys can catch us out there on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Podchaser, and Player FM. Podcast Index. I'm sorry, I fucked that all up. But you can catch us out there on all those platforms. Let's get right to it. How are you?
I'm doing good. I was making sure you didn't have nothing in your nose. I'm doing great too. I don't have nothing in my nose.
Straight,
okay.
Straight.
I am doing great today. Mentally, I'm a 10.
Okay.
I feel great.
I received that. I feel that.
Yeah, I feel great. My mind is at ease. We've been going to bed early the last couple days, and I really feel like
it's an effect. You can feel it.
You know, sometimes the brain, it's like brain fog or brain overload. Either one makes you more tired and just it impacts you. We had a conversation.
Too much stimulation or not enough stimulation.
Yeah, well, not even not enough, but I'm saying brain fog. Too much stimulation can cause your brain to feel overloaded, or it can make your brain feel foggy, where like you can't remember anything, or you got too much in your head. Mm-hmm. We had a conversation about like just drama and people that live with drama, and I talked to Toya about this too. It's like I can't imagine how the effects that would have on our bodies, like making us physically sick because just so much going on. So I'm feeling great. You know, I'm doing well. My husband's doing well. Our family and friends, for the most part, are all healthy and safe. So that's, that I guess my mental shouldn't rely on that, but it does. And I feel great. I feel great in this moment. I'm just going to go by this moment. Financially, a 9, just, as always, giving us some room to build. And we've been doing, my husband has been taking the lead on that, as he always has, as the headship. And, I'm grateful for him for that. Work is a 10 because it's Juneteenth and I ain't have no work today. But even outside of that, work is really good.
Means.
Work is really good. Don't, we're not doing that.
We're not doing that. Whatever that means.
Yeah, work. I love my job, as y'all probably know, because I say it all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm on the highway a lot, and I'm not like him where like the driving bothers me. I like going and doing, but the last 2 weeks I've had like some long trips, and it's like I felt a little bit burnt out yesterday. So today, I was happy to just relax and know I didn't have to do that for at least 4 or 5, maybe even 6 more days. So I'm grateful for that. No complaints, but I'm good. So work is a 10.
Awesome.
And physically, I feel great. I'm going to say I feel a 10 today. I got a little bit of, I don't want to say pains, a little bit of remnants of like working out, but, nothing that all my body parts is moving. I don't have no aches, no pains. I remember like living with stomach pain, or just something always hurting, living with arm pain, hand pain when my hand was bothering me, my hip bothering me.
You had a knee, you had a wrist, you had an elbow.
Yeah.
You had a forearm.
So today, nothing is hurting me. And I feel like a lot of it too is, I don't want to say psychosomatic, because does that mean like I think a lot of our mental, as we know, I'm not saying nothing that's rocket science, your mental affects your physical health, the stress and all that.
Yeah, it's borderline by stress.
And not to say like I know any direct correlation, but I really try my best to live life stress-free. And maybe that's manifested in my body, on top of working out, on top of eating better, on top of loving myself and being loved in a most beautiful way ever, on top of, increasing my spiritual connection with God. So maybe all of that is just manifesting in my body, and I feel great. So I'm a 10. I'm a 10, 9, 10, 10.
Shout out to you for being a 10, 9, 10, 10.
How are you?
I am good. Mentally, I feel like a 10. So I'm a 10 mentally. I feel good. My head is clear, sharp. I don't have no stresses, no worries. Mm-hmm. Finances, I would say, is a 9. Always going to leave. That's always going to be a 9. That ain't ever going to be a 10 now, unless it's retirement time.
I was about to say, unless we get like
I hit a scratch off and then I got 20 mil or something like that.
Jackpot or something.
Then I'm probably going to come in here and say my finances is an 8 anyway. Work is a 10. I got a new job today. Got a new set of prints. In the same building, but just a different scenery, a different space, away from people, with my guys. So happy about that.
The team's back.
Yep, the team is back. I will see Eddie tomorrow. So shouts out to my main man, Eddie. Ain't seen him in a few weeks. Physically, I feel like a 10. I just feel good. My body feel good. My body is changing. I could see it. I could feel it. And just keep chugging.
So we are aligned.
Yeah.
10, 9, 10, 10.
A little bit.
Give me a high five on that. What's your wows and woes this week?
My wow is that I got a new job. I was just tired of seeing the same scenery, tired of being around guys that I don't talk to, and wanted my family back. So that's my wow, is that, always doing my own thing is better for me. Woe is, I don't have no woes. I don't have no woes. I think that's the reason why we feel good. It's the reason why we're probably stress-free and in a good headspace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cause we don't have no woes. Ain't nothing pending. Ain't nothing stressing. Life is what it is, and you just take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
What about you? Wows and woes, stops and goes.
Well, mine is kind of the same.
There's
some
downs.
Duplicity there. So I mean, my woe isn't like really directly for me, but it's the heat.
Oh.
And I'm not complaining, because thank God, I go from my air-conditioned house to my air-conditioned car, and then any places that I'm visiting, meetings or, wherever I'm going, there's air conditioning. So I'm not in it a lot. But just the fact that it's so hot so soon, like the high coming up this weekend is like 99.
Yeah.
But then next week it's like back down into the 80s. So we are just seeing unprecedented weather.
And I never saw the heat wave is 3 days in a row. It's going to be like 8 days of 90-degree weather when it's all over.
When it's all
6
over,
to 8 days. So it's like, that's a double heat wave.
Yeah, so I mean, we in it. So, but my wow is, it's summertime, and I love the summer. That's why I'm
It's hot everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily complaining about the heat, because I love it. I just want people to be safe. But I love the summer. Just, we enjoy each other's time and company year round. Y'all know date night. Friday night is our date night. And we go on dates, God willing, nobody's sick or hurt or injured every week. But you can kind of change of scenery when summertime comes, not just date night, like our weekends and the quality time that we spend. So I'm just,
the dates change too.
Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to enjoying just the summertime together, enjoying activities, whether we're doing a whole bunch or just doing something where we're chilling and not doing a whole bunch, but just being outside. Yeah. So outside. That's my,
and I hope it's not like this all summer long, like scorching hot, where it's just like you want to be around water all the time.
Right.
But, just to hang out in the evening, that nightlife in the summer is the shit. Mm-hmm. Before you know it, it's midnight, and it's like, oh shit, if I was in the house, I'd be asleep.
Yeah.
But it's good to hang out in the summertime, so I'm looking forward to that too.
Yep, so looking forward to it. This weekend, we had a great weekend. We spent some time down the shore, which was pretty empty, but just doing the things that we love. But also this weekend, we saw the tank fight.
Yep, tank fight.
And shout out, because the previous week, my husband bought an MMA fight.
And fell asleep.
That we slept through. It just makes no sense for a fight for them to have that many undercards and for a fight to come on that late. Yeah. Like, you would have to take a nap. But
the next day, they said the guy walked down the aisle at 111. Yeah, it was like, there's no fucking way I would have made that.
Like, what
there's
the
no
hell?
Fucking way.
But we stayed up for this fight, and it was worth it. It was really good. Yeah. I'll always remember Tank was our first fight that we seen in person at Madison Square Garden. So, he holds a special place in my heart, just in terms of boxing. I love the sport of boxing. I don't like all boxers, even some of the biggest names. Y'all can say what y'all want. Like, I would not want to go to a Floyd Mayweather fight. He's a great fighter, and what he does, his history, his record, he's defensive, which I know is part of the sport, because you don't want to get hit.
Right.
But for a fight fan, that's not entertaining to me.
No.
I want to see a knockout.
Just like any sport. Like in football, you want to see high offense. In basketball, you want to see threes and high offense. It's boring to see defense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get it. But in boxing, you can get physically hurt or even die. So the name of the game is to hit and not get hit.
Yeah.
Because one shot can send you into orbit. So,
but like Floyd Mayweather, Bernard Hopkins, those kind of people,
fighters.
It's like, it's good if they're beating up the other person, but when it's just
the last two fights Tank has predicted, I heard a story today that Tank was seen in a CBS the night before the fight, and some guy walked up to him and was like, "Hey man, like I don't mean to bother you, but you know, you are you ready for the fight?" And he was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna kill him in 8." And sure enough, in 8 he killed him. And he did that the last fight with the other Spanish guy, and a person asked him, you know, "Are you ready for the fight?" And he said, "I'm gonna hurt him in 5." And he did that to him. So he's got this unique way of like seeing, like Floyd used to do. I'm gonna get in the ring the first 4 or 5
I'm gonna let them do
rounds.
their thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna feel you out, see what your tendencies are, and then I'm on
And
your
part
ass.
of it too is him allowing them, because they're going to want to give their all, so let them, you know, lose some of their wins. So in that sense, it's their defense is up, but they still doing a little tapping. But he's filling him out. You know, he's calculating your moves and things, so then he can come back and he know exactly, because you could see it in rounds 6 and 7. It was like the guy could not duck a punch.
Nope.
He could, like, everything that Tank was swinging for, he was making. He could not get his face away from his fist.
And he hits hard.
Yeah.
Like very, very, a left-handed fighter who hits hard. And Tank has a look of a fighter. He looks the part. Like, he looks like a boxer, and his actions show that. When he gets in the ring, he don't talk a lot of shit. But he told Frank in the press conference, he was like, "You should have waited for this fight, because this before the fight, he told him, you should have waited for this fight because you're really good, but you're just not ready for me." Like, that's some shit to tell somebody. He was like, I watched you. He was like, "You could be really good, but you shouldn't fight me yet. Like, you're not ready for these lights." And it was like, damn, like somebody to tell you some shit like that. Like, you really like me, you really fuck with me, but because I'm jumping too soon,
like, I'm letting you know, this ain't what you want.
Exactly.
I'm gonna give it to you, but this ain't what you want.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like watching a fight. I guess, I don't know, it's just something in me. Like, I root for the underdog. Like, I wanted Tank to win because he's Tank. He's a great fighter, but it's something in me was like, damn, that would be dope to see the underdog pull this out. But you just knew that he wasn't. He tried. He tried. He gave a good run
you
for it.
You can kind of see that shit, like, as a fight fan, rounds 1, 2, and 3. You can kind of feel and see that shit, he's better than him. Like, just the skill level is just, he's better. Like, you can clearly see it.
Frank didn't look relaxed, which I know you can't be but so relaxed, but he almost looked like he was too on guard. He was nervous, I'm sure.
He was giving Tank way too much respect because he knew his power.
Yeah, he knew his power, he knew his stature, the bright lights, and all of that. But it was like, yeah, I didn't even know he said that, but it makes sense. It was like, you're not ready for this. But it's going to be entertaining for us. But it's crazy. We've seen so many good fights, throughout the years in our time together. Like, I remember Ricky Hatton fights, and they used to sing the chant with him. I remember Zab Judah. But it's crazy to see the downfall of so many of those people who were so good.
Yeah.
And, one thing I like about Tank, he from the hood. You could tell he has some sort of, I don't know whether it's publicity training, PR training or something. I love when he speaks. You could tell he takes his time. He doesn't want to get out there. He
don't want to sound ignorant. Like
Adrian Broner.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot. It's almost, it's like secondhand embarrassment. Like, you don't know what he about to say. Like, not even like how he speaks, just what he's about to say. It's so cringy. But I love that Tank, he represents himself well. He represents his team well. I think I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Represents his city well, Baltimore.
Yeah,
right?
I'm looking forward to seeing more from him because, he's a great fighter.
Do you know Shakur Stevenson?
We saw Shakur Stevenson.
I'm just asking you, are you familiar with him?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Tank should fight him first, Ryan Garcia, or somebody else?
Ryan Garcia maybe, but definitely not Shakur. Shakur Stevenson is not ready for Tank. He's a great. We seen him when we went to see Tank. He was one of the undercards, and he's a good fighter. He's he's not ready for him yet, and I would hate to see his record tarnished. I mean, you got to take it out at some point, right? But I would hate to see his record tarnished. This early in his career. So I think he should continue to,
build on it.
Yeah, build on it. But he's not ready for Tank.
Maybe
yet.
Do a championship fight that ain't Tank, like, so you can get the lights in a big stadium like MGM.
Like him against Frank, okay, but
or him against. I think I think that Shakur Stevenson, he should fight Ryan Garcia.
I could see that too.
And that'll be like a bright fight for him to get his feet wet to say like, okay, I fought one of the top guys.
Yeah, that's big time. Yeah, that's like, yeah.
So
now, I get confused about like the weight classes and stuff. Does Danny Garcia still fight from Philly?
He retired, but he fought at 140.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking him and Tank would be a good fight.
Tank would kill Ryan Garcia. I mean, he would kill Danny Garcia.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Tank's on another level. And not just because he's not. I mean, he's got 31 wins with 29 knockouts. Like, he's just a different dude. And people underestimate his punching power because he's small. So they think. And when you was talking about Frank, he was in the ring to me the whole time. Like, what are you thinking? Like, just don't get hit. Don't get hit with one of his punches. And you can't be thinking that. You got to be scared of him.
He looked like a deer in headlights. Like, not like he was scared, but like he was just too... You could just tell it was like, oh my God, I'm here, I'm
constantly
doing this.
thinking, don't get knocked out in front of all these people. Don't get knocked out in front of... And then you just get knocked out, and it's like, try my best not to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed seeing the fight. I'm happy that, we stayed up for it. It's weird, like, how boxing has changed so much where we... Like HBO boxing was like such a huge thing.
It used to be huge.
Yeah, and then it like transitioned to Showtime, and now it's just like those huge platforms like that don't have the same pull. I don't know what changed that. Like, is it streaming or?
MMA changed it too, because MMA became more popular than boxing, and the boxers wouldn't fight. Guys would get belts and wouldn't fight each other.
Okay.
That's what happened in boxing. And it was like, it started with Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao. For 5-6 years, it was like, when are these guys going to fight? When are these guys going to fight? And then when they did, everybody was like, oh, Pacquiao old.
He was old then.
You know what I mean? Like, it was like, y'all should have had this fight 5 years earlier. Then it would have been the biggest thing ever. Even though it was a big fight because of their names. But it was just like, Pacquiao's washed. Like, he ain't the same guy he was 5 years ago.
And Pacquiao changed not just because of the money, but politically, like, he was like running for president of the Philippines and all that.
That's when shit changed. And Floyd fucked that up because he 51-0. And people was like, the O is sacred. You can't lose. When Floyd used to say, you trash, it's 5 different ways to beat you because you got 5 losses, or it's 10 different ways to beat you because you got 10 losses. It was like guys used to lose and you just had heart because you got in the ring. Now it's like you lost, you scrub, you're a wash. You're not even on my level if you lost.
Right. So talking about boxing, we know that they have big paydays, like for the big names. Let's say a big payday for us, like $1 million. Do you think that's enough to retire?
No, I do not think $1 million. You talk about $1 million or $1 million taxed? Or you just saying $1 million dropped in our lap, the whole $1 million?
Yeah, after tax, like we net $1 million.
Okay, so $1 million dropped in our lap. I don't think that's enough to retire. I think we still have to go to work. Maybe you could retire, but I probably would still have to go to work. I probably would scale back, but $1 million is not enough to retire. Like we're in our 40s, and God forbid we live to be in our 80s or 90s. Well, not God forbid, God hope so. Yeah. We live to be in our 80s or 90s, and it's like, you're going to need money, and $1 million is not. It's a lot of money, but it's not really a lot of money for people who 40 to try to retire on. Now, $3 million, yes, that would be my number. If $3 million fell in our lap, we both would stop working.
I was thinking more like 10. Just because of like the way that, inflation, we don't know. I mean, we know how much our mortgage is. We know how much car notes, but I mean, you figure in that instance, you probably just buy a car outright. So that would be one less bill. But just thinking of if we're not working.
We paid off our car. I mean, we bought a car outright and say we went to buy another house, a bigger house, or a house that fit us that was just super nice.
And we paid it off.
And paid it off. Now we got no house note, no car note. Say we got $2.1 million in the bank. We can put that into something where we get $40,000-$50,000 a year in interest, and we don't have no big bills. All we got is cable and phones, and little shit like that.
Yeah, but
gas.
I mean, we don't want to take trips.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I
think for, like you said, planning on living into our 80s, 90s, I'm just thinking 10 million is more
so that would be your number?
That would be my number. Like, I would say 5 would be minimum, 10 would be comfort zone.
So if I want to scratch off for $3.7 million and we got 2.8, you will still want to go to work?
Would I want to? No.
Would you still go to work?
Yeah, I think I would still go to work. I think, again, we would just do things differently. Mm-hmm. Like, we would travel more. We would save. Now, what I think, though, is that we would put a plan in place to retire sooner than we probably would have had we not had
to start enjoying the money in
life. So we'll be like, you know what, babe, let's put even if it's like a 12 to 36 month plan in place. You know what I mean? But to just be like, peace out right now, I think we would just need some preparation. And in that time, we would live like we didn't have the money yet. Mm-hmm. But then again, on the other end of that too, is like life ain't guaranteed. Like we could be waiting this 36 months and then God forbid something happen, we don't get a chance to spend it. So it would be a mix of both. We wouldn't just ball out, but it would be like, okay, we're gonna go on some trips. We may look to, sell and, buy another house, do some things to put ourselves in position mm-hmm. for our exit plan.
Yeah.
But $1 million in this day and age, unfortunately, it's not. Now, that is contingent on your quality of living as well.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if you make $40,000 a year and $1 million falls in your hand, your quality
and you can
of life,
properly manage it. Your bills
as
are
long
different.
as you don't scale up too high.
Yeah.
Now you shouldn't stay living at the $40,000 level because you got $1 million. You can step it up a little bit, but you shouldn't step it up and ball out too much because you could burn. You could burn that out.
And people, you got to know, like, okay, you step it up and get a house. The taxes you got to pay on that house could kill you alone, depending on...
If you make $40,000 a year and you get $1 million dropped in your lap, you should pay off your bills and you should buy yourself a nice, modest house for probably $250,000, $300,000 of your liking.
That's a third of the money.
But you got a home now that you can keep. It's got what's the word? It's got equity. You own it. You can sell it if you get into a jam. It's paid off, so you don't have this big note.
Yeah, but you're talking about $300,000 house, depending on where you are. Your taxes might be $10,000 a year, and that's something you got to manage. I mean, and again,
but
I'm
your
not saying
$500,000 or $600,000 you got left going to earn you some interest. It might pay for your taxes.
That's contingent on you doing. Yeah, so I mean, you doing all the things with it to elongate that money, to make it stretch, to make the money. To allow the money to make you more money, then yes.
Yeah, I was going to say you got to find some way for money to be.
Because I'm thinking like a modest home for 150, and maybe I'm just that fear of
200,000.
That fear of poverty.
Yeah,
is like you don't want to put yourself in that situation, like having a safe zone. But it's a shame to say $1 million is a lot of money, but in this economy. Especially if you add kids in the mix, you really
we're not talking about kids. If you add kids in the mix, no fucking way. If you knew you was going to live to a certain age and you won the lottery for the $4,000 a week, would you take it or would you take the lump sum? Like if you were going to get $10,000 a week for life and you knew you were going to live to 96 and you're 43 now, would you take it?
I think I would rather than the lump sum because I think it pans out better
and it'll pile up eventually. Like $10,000 a week is like, okay, the first 2-3 weeks you might spend some money, but after a while that's gonna be like, I got another 10, another 10, another 10, another 10,
and you invest that and do what you need with it. Yeah, and it's like always coming. I mean, you taking the lump sum, if you don't manage your money correctly, like.
You're done.
Yeah, it could be gone real fast, and now that's the kind of money where you can retire.
Yeah,
like if you're making $40,000, and even let's say that's before taxes. So the gift tax I think is like on the higher end, like 35%. So $6,500 a week.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah. Like we're not working, or we're doing something that we want to in terms of enjoyment. We're not doing anything stressful.
No.
But I mean,
definitely not getting up at 3:30 in the morning to drive some vehicle to work to clock in. No, hell no.
Yes. Now on the reverse, right? I saw this question and it just made me ponder, and I didn't even look through the responses. But if someone gave you an envelope and it had your death date, and you knew like this was 100% accurate, would you open the envelope or would you give it back?
Give it back.
Yeah.
I absolutely don't want to know anything like that. I don't, and maybe it's because of my life experience, but I don't want to know anything like that. Like I wouldn't know what to, my body and mind and innards wouldn't know what to do with that information. Like you couldn't tell me, don't worry about it. Like, are you out of your fucking mind? Don't worry about it. I know.
You could get it and that date be 2 days from now.
Yeah, I'd be like,
or
I
it could
fucking
be 25 years from now. Like, there's no way in the world that I would want to know that. Like,
I would want me and my wife to both live to be 110 years old.
And if God has other plans, then oh well. But yeah, ain't no way in the world that I would want to know that. Like, I just don't understand what benefit would come from that. I mean, I guess some people could say, well, if you know, then let's say if it's 2 days from now, you ball out, but you won't be able to comfortably ball out and do anything with that lingering over you.
I think
and
you wouldn't be able to do nothing but drugs.
Yeah.
You would have to do nothing but drugs because you're so amped up that you know I'm going to croak in 6 weeks. You're going to be like, all right, I'm going to enjoy it. Let me put my family in. I'm going to enjoy it. You're going to go so fucking like on 10.
If you say drugs, I wouldn't even know where to start with drugs. Like,
shit, let's find out. Shit.
Like, I wouldn't even
You start with
know.
drugs. Like, go get me drugs. Like, whatever it is, drug, weed, cocaine, crack, whatever. You probably say I ain't sticking myself with no needles, but let's smoke and sniff what we can do.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I think I would just be so afraid of like with the like just,
people can say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get my Bible and sit down and just be close to God." Like, man, I'm losing it. Like, I'm spiraling out of control.
I'm definitely losing my mind. That's just not.
I'm spiraling out of control, and I know that now. And again, it's heavy because of my life experience, but. Yes, I'm spiraling out of control with that kind of. Would you want to know if it was a family member?
What I want to know when their death date would be.
An envelope of a family member, a certain family member, and let's just say you don't get the pick, but this is a family member, a close family member of yours. Do you want to know?
No, because it could be you. It could be one of my kids. It could be my sisters. So no.
Obviously, the close family members.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what, like, no, hell no.
Okay. Especially
if it was like, this was definite information, there's nothing I can do to change it, like.
I'm glad we got the door open to let this juju out.
Yes.
Like, I am glad the juju can just flow out of here.
Now, talking about family members, this is a little pivot. Yeah, we get away from the death talk, right? What if you knew about a family member who had committed let's say they were charged with an egregious crime?
Okay, before I answer the question, let's categorize egregious into 2 categories.
Okay.
Number 1 being child stuff. Number 2 being anything else.
Okay.
So if I had a family member that was locked up for child stuff, egregious child stuff, I'm disowning them.
What if they so it's no innocent until proven guilty?
It's egregious, so no, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna probably believe the victim first. Yeah, I'm probably gonna want nothing to do with that family member. I'm probably gonna want, and maybe this is trauma, but the way that has touched my family, it's like, nah, I don't know how to deal with that other than get away from it or hurt somebody. So I would want nothing to do with that person. And if things played out different and they ended up innocent, oh well, I made my decision. If we can still be okay. If not, I understand because, but in that moment, I thought about all that.
Yeah.
I thought about all that.
Yeah. And I rock with that. Like that would kind of be, it's a shame that there are people who are accused falsely for things. But in a lot of cases where there's smoke, there's fire. And especially when you're talking about kids, young kids, it'll be like, yeah, I'm good. Now let's go the other route. Egregious,
murder.
But not. Yeah, let's say murder.
The worst of murder. Let's say you had let's say the sister beat somebody to death and was getting locked up. How would you handle that? Like, damn, like, would you be like, I'm going to support her 100% even though I know she did what she did? Or would you be like a little upset, like, damn, like, you couldn't handle that no other way? Like, you had to beat this person to death? Like, why didn't you it wasn't threatened no more? Like, this was just anger. Like, how would you handle that?
Both, but in a different order. So I probably wouldn't ask those questions right away because it's kind of, I'm sure she got a lot to deal with, and it'll be like, she probably can't wrap her brain around any of those answers yet. So my first thought would be the support.
Are you okay?
Probably wouldn't even talk about like what happened, but just, are you okay? What do you need? How can I be there for you? I'm here for you. Right or wrong, and when I say right or wrong, of course murder is wrong, but if it was like a self-defense kind of thing, or if it wasn't, right? Like, if God forbid, if it was like a drunk driving thing, you know what I mean? Right. So that's wrong. Absolutely.
That's a good example.
Yeah, but I'm supporting you. We're not going to even talk about the crime yet. Then it's like, okay, once we allow this, like, what's up? Like, and in some things, it's not even so much to talk about because drunk driving, it's one of them things where I can just look at you like, I don't need to tell you. And sometimes you and I talk about this sometimes when it's like, certain situations you don't need to tell somebody that they was wrong for doing something they know. And it will be nothing that...
I disagree with that, but go ahead.
It's like, I don't need to tell you that you was wrong for drinking and driving and now you killed this person. Ain't nothing I can tell you that you don't already know. You shouldn't be drinking and driving. Maybe you could have called the Uber. Maybe you could have called a friend. Maybe you could have just not drank. Maybe like all of the alternative solutions that could have happened instead of what did happen. It ain't nothing I can tell you that you don't know.
But that's what would lead me to believe that you don't know, is that you did it.
People do dumb stuff and they know that there was other options. Like, you've done things, not to bring up old stuff, but like you've done things and you knew it was wrong,
cool,
but you still did it.
That's old shit.
I've done dumb things that I absolutely knew was wrong.
But drunk drive, well, I guess we just look at it with a bias because it's like,
it's one of the stupidest
and
things you could do.
If somebody close to me was to kill somebody in a car in a drunk driving, it's like, you're right. There's nothing I could say in this moment that you don't know right now because of the trouble that you're in. But obviously, in the moment, should you have drove drunk? You couldn't make that decision.
Yeah, but how in this moment right now?
How does that?
That's not going to help me chastising you and saying like why, or even if you say I've done this before and nothing ever happened. Okay, it happened now. Like, so it's right now that dialogue.
I hear what you say. You give grace before you got to answer. Yeah, and I'm more like, what the fuck happened? Like, I need answers now before I not can care, but maybe it's the wrong approach, but I'm going to support. That's why I'm here. But I definitely want to know, like, what the fuck happened, so I can be prepared for like how the severity of it, like what's going on.
I think that's where you kind of set yourself up for disappointment, because the simplest answer is I was drinking and I went to drive home and I shouldn't have. And that will piss you off.
Yeah, if you take take that kind of attitude in that moment after you killed somebody, yes, I'm walking out the room.
But when you say what happened, it's like
guess what I just asked you, right? A judge is going to ask you that. Say that to them.
Yeah, but
no. Say that to them. When the fucking judge say, "Why did you do this?" I want to talk to you. Why did you do this? I was just drinking and I drove.
But it's almost like you have to see the sympathy. You have to see the person being sympathetic before
remorseful.
Before it will turn on your sympathy. And they may be.
I don't
they
disagree
just may
with
not be like in that moment able to express it in a certain way.
We've been together a long time, and I'm sure you get that from our history.
It's like, I need to know that you care and that you like express to me that you know this is an F up.
And then we can get over it.
Yeah. But it's like, even if I know without...
But if you go to somebody and be like, well, what happened? I just fucked up. What you want? then we got a problem. What do you mean? Like, I know that much. I'm smart. You fucked up. That's why I'm asking you what happened. You just don't look at somebody and say, what you mean? I fucked up. Like, it shit happens. Like, oh, okay.
Well, no.
Then handle this yourself.
No, that adding shit happens to the end is not, because that shouldn't just happen. But, again, it's one of them things where in that moment, that conversation, it just... Like,
I get it. It don't help.
Yeah.
It don't help. It helps me, but it don't help the person.
Yeah. And almost like your presence and just staring and not saying nothing is enough judgment, rightfully so, than to have the discourse about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's one of them things. But I mean, when you have a family member, sometimes it's one of them things where you just, like, okay, going back, if either of our siblings committed murder, if...
It all depends on the context of it. If one of my siblings went out and just murdered, I don't want nothing to do with you. There won't be no support. Now, if one of my siblings was defending themselves and killed somebody, then there'll be support.
What if one of your siblings...
But if you just took a life just because you was doing some dumb shit...
What if one of our siblings, right, was committing a robbery, and in the course of a robbery, they made a mistake and, they had the gun... It was an armed robbery, but somebody got shot. They didn't mean to shoot. They didn't mean it to.
But they got shot and died.
So in that case, they didn't.
No, that's not. I can't rock with that. Like, I sent some money on your books and stuff like that. Maybe come see you because you
okay, then
my
that's
sibling.
Support.
But I'm not gonna be at every court date. I'm not gonna be there every week. I'm not gonna do all that shit. Like,
but the fact that
you didn't do anything wrong. Like, you put yourself in a situation. Like, what the fuck? You robbed a bank? Like, and you shot somebody?
But
you killed them?
But I'm using that specifically for a reason because of history.
I know. I'm just saying, like,
the empathy, would it be there from you?
Ain't nobody get shot.
I understand that.
Ain't nobody die. That's a different thing.
I understand that. I'm just asking, would there be some place?
Yes, there would be some empathy. Yes, to answer your question, there would be some empathy.
Okay.
Probably just as much as was for me.
Okay. I'm just, it's one.
It would be that much. It would be just as much empathy as it was for me.
The crazy thing is, when thinking about any of those scenarios, we could live like we talked about. To the best of our ability. You got a little ball itch?
Yeah. I was actually smashing it. I didn't know you was going to say something.
We could live
I was smashing the shit out of it.
Crotch itch, you cannot ignore. We could try our best to live a stress-free, drama-free life to the best of our ability. But when you have people close to you and something goes down, that can and we have had first-hand experience that can turn your whole life upside down.
The only person that I think it's obvious, but I would support you wholeheartedly like that. Like, if somebody a cop called and was like, yo, it's this Mr. D's, we have Mrs. D's here, and, she got into an altercation and a road rage incident and she harmed somebody and killed them. It would be like, that would leave me speechless. Like, what the fuck? And I need to know what happened, because the person that you're talking about, not in a million years could I imagine her getting dressed and leaving the house and being so angry at somebody that she killed them. Like, not with the car, she killed them, like, herself. Like, what did they do to her that she would be this mad? Like, I would be on a defense, like, let me get there, let me see what happened, what did she do? And then it would be like, okay, Tosh, like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like, who are you? Like, you snap like that? I know everybody got it in them, but you was just going to work.
The traffic,
This is why I tell you shouldn't drive. It's no good.
I can imagine that being a shock for you, like, God forbid. And again, I thank God that we have been blessed. Our family has been blessed where they haven't had to get any of those phone calls about us, or we haven't had to get any of those phone calls about them. But, like you said, outside of the, like, hurting kids thing, I would be, right or wrong. Now, again, right or wrong, but that's subjective. If I found out, like, my sister was, like, this secret, like, she's a nurse and she was, like, injecting people And like
I had 2. That was one.
yeah, and like
And I didn't want to name people. I was like, what if your sister was doing something in the hospital and like hurting people?
yeah, it'll be like, what the hell?
Or
like,
what if we got a call 2:00 in the morning and Sierra killed her boyfriend?
sleepwalking.
Yeah. And it's like no fight. He ain't touch her. He was asleep in the bed. And she done shanked him up.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta
Like, what are we doing?
I'm probably gonna like have to be I'm gonna have to do like a 72-hour watch first.
You're not
like,
going there.
Right.
That's no such thing. People out there, there's no such thing as a 72-hour watch.
Like, I'm just gonna, my mind is gonna be like,
days.
what the hell? But I think you kind of go into like autopilot, like it's like my sister, you know, who's the nurse. It's like now we got kids that we got to take care of, so that changes the dynamic.
In Sierra's situation, you know she's blatantly wrong. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This happened. Dude was asleep, and you know what? Like everything is factual. How do you handle that?
So now we gotta like. I'm gonna go into the mode of, okay, she needs a lawyer. You got to get prepared. She's gonna do some jail time. What's her best options? Do she take a plea? Maybe we do the brain scan thing because she's a sleepwalker. So maybe
lay the fuck down and hook her up to some shit.
Yeah, like
try to pull some rabbit out of her.
Is this a a psychiatric thing? Not to like excuse her actions, but. Let's figure out the best course, because she's going to do some time. So let's figure out the best course of action. So that would be, I would go into the mode of like trying to coordinate the professional logistics. Mm-hmm. She got a car, like, let me call them and tell them to come and get this.
She needs to be evaluated quickly.
So that, her car note ain't, adding up.
Landlord.
Yeah, call the landlord, ask, when the last time, I know she paid her rent, how many more days.
Sell this furniture, she need a lawyer.
So we going to, I need the code. I know she got some money stacked, so I'm grateful that so that I would go into that mode of.
That would be so insane. Like, let that juju out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you to do no crazy shit like that. But, for the sake of the conversation.
Things happen to people. It's like Remy Ma, her son just got charged, not convicted. Charged
first degree
with
murder.
Yeah, and you just
from
think
a murder
about
3 years ago, which again makes me think investigations was done. People were talked to, like shit was planned out, and once you come to the end of the conclusion, it's like, okay,
the evidence
he did it.
led to him. But it makes you think about her history and her past. Not that her case was murder, but
it could have been.
Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness.
Anytime you shoot somebody, you could kill them.
You have to think like, am I really, or is our family, because again, this is not just an individual thing, is our family really about to relive this nightmare?
It's about to be
in a worse way, because now this is my child.
Yep, and you in New York, first degree murder is,
yeah, the gun
bad.
charges and things, yeah.
It's bad.
You ready for the
3
grams?
What you got?
Bishop, the Gucci suit.
Do you know
Bishop.
about this guy?
Yeah, Bishop Whitehead.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of his name because of the internet, but I wanted to know, do you know of him? Like, was he a guy that you listened to? Did you think he was good one time?
I learned about him when he got robbed, quote unquote.
This was the dude that got robbed?
Yeah, this is the guy that got robbed on live stream in his church.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was the same guy.
This is the same guy, which they said, was set up and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, and then after that happened, that's what people were saying, like, he was scamming people in the church for money.
So
and
that
all
was
this.
The point, like, I got robbed, now I need some
I guess like insurance money or something like that.
Okay.
And then, but no, even before that, like, so once that came out, other stories came out about how like he was scamming like the old ladies in the church and
congregation.
Stuff. Yeah, like getting all this money, and he was, Gucci suit down and very flamboyant. So I
like
knew
the guy on the Shy. Then you haven't been watching that, but they got a preacher on there that's just like that, and he's trying to get Papa to be that way, but Papa's not like that.
Yeah, so I knew of him since that instant. I didn't know of him
Creflo Dollar ass nigga.
like Creflo Dollar, Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes. They have that national attention. I never knew of Bishop Whitehead prior to that robbery incident.
Yeah,
but now all of that, that's where all these charges come from.
Yeah, wire fraud, bank fraud, whole bunch of frauds.
And it's almost like you think to yourself, did you really set up this robbery to happen on live stream? If so, you brought this on yourself. You brought this national attention to yourself.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't set it up, you think this was karma knocking at your door, literally, to still put all this attention on you. But if you did set that up, you are a fool. Like, what the hell?
We know preaching and shit like that is a racket. Like, the preachers get paid, they want to get paid, all the money don't go to the church. Some churches don't have shit fixed there. But
some preaching can be a racket. Let's say that, yeah.
Well, I mean, the what I'm trying to say is they don't do it for nothing. It's not like they
it's
do
a profession.
It for,
it's their career,
right?
Mm-hmm.
But they also have ancillary incomes because you might have to
speech and
here,
engagements
do this,
and stuff.
do
Yeah,
that.
write books.
You're coaching a team.
You make a music album.
Right. Some stuff you do pro bono. You giving back, but a lot of money comes other than your salary.
Yeah.
In that position.
Well, and let's also talk about, there's a difference when you talk about these mega churches, and I don't know, Bishop Whitehead, that church when they were getting robbed, didn't look like a mega church. I think he just, it sounds weird to say marketed, but to like a wealthier congregation. But I don't think it was a mega church. But it's different when you're talking about those mega churches, like in Philadelphia, the Enon, or I don't know if Triumph is considered, but I think so, because that's a big church. And then, of course, you got like the Potter's House, that TDJ. So it's different with those preachers and their salary. Then you're talking about, the preacher around the corner. We got 19 churches near us.
Right.
Like, it's a difference.
I meant the big churches, but those guys have ancillary income. Do you think that it shouldn't be that way? Like, they should only get their salary? Because do you think, like, for a preacher, like, I'm not going to say his name, but so you know who I'm talking about, but do you think, like, a parent or a couple can come up to him and say, hey, you might not know my kid, but I want him to go to your alma mater. I can give you $5,000 if you write a letter for him. You think he would do that, or think anything was wrong with that?
I hope so. That's bad. Like, because if that's something you want to do from the kindness of your heart, you shouldn't accept no money for that. That's horrible. Anybody in any profession.
Yeah, but you can probably say that about, okay, if I'm a preacher, then this is what I'm preaching. If you want me to come speak at a prison for boys or some shit like that, and you want to pay me, you could say, I don't want that. But you don't. You take that money.
Well,
so all I'm saying is they come to you on the up and up. They're not even thinking they're doing anything wrong. They're offering, like, I really want this letter, and you don't know our kid like that, but we would pay you to do it. Like,
that's wrong too. To one, how are you going to write a recommendation letter for a child that you don't know? And two, to get paid for that is like, it's fraud, really, because you're writing a recommendation letter for somebody you don't know. To go to a speaking, I never even thought about that. Like, that's horrible.
I mean, the fact that people write letters for people that they don't know. I'm just saying, people in these positions don't always write these letters and they be like, this is what I wanted to do. I would think some of them get paid, or a couple of them, it might be, I don't really know this kid, but I know his dad, so let me just,
I mean, that's different if it's like but to be paid to do it, that's horrible. And again, regardless if you're a preacher, a CEO, or whomever, like, to do that. Now, a speaking engagement, I agree, like, depending on the context. If you're like going to a university and you're speaking at a conference that they
not
have
about church, just about something that you do in your life.
You might be speaking about, the impact of homelessness on the community. Okay, and if you're paid by that university to do that, that's one thing. If you're going to a prison to speak to young boys to help mentor them, then I can see you kind of doing that pro bono if it's from your heart. So, I mean, the speaking engagements, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with doing that, because...
So if it's a check attached to all these things, do you think you turn them down? Everything you just said has a check attached. Let's just say, for the sake of the conversation, every extra ancillary thing has a check attached to it.
No, I don't think you turn down all of them. I think some of them, like, again, going to speak to young boys, mentoring them in a prison or something.
You turn that check down and tell them, I don't want that. Let's give it to charity.
I would think so.
Okay.
But if a university is calling you to speak, a hospital is calling you to speak, or, certain things like that, then I don't see anything wrong if they're paying other people on the panel as well. Just because you're a pastor, you still got bills. It's still your time and efforts. And, I was just at a meeting yesterday, the executive director of I won't say the name, but of an organization throughout the state of New Jersey. He was talking about, he was in the process, he had to do an hour-long presentation at one of the medical schools in New York. I'm sure he's being paid to, that they're asking him to come, but it's funny because he plans these festivals throughout the state, and he mentioned a comedian that he had speaking. A comedian doing a show in previous years. Well, this comedian moved down south, and he said he contacted him, and the guy wanted $2,000. It's 3 different dates, $2,000 for each of the dates. And he was like, he funny, but he ain't that funny. We'll find somebody else. But it's like, it's a give and take, regardless of what industry you're in. But one thing I think
that can get blurred, though, is what my point was with. Especially if you're a preacher, like you start taking all this ancillary money, you kind of you don't know what to turn down. And if you see a $10,000 check to go speak at the prison for boys, you might not want to turn that 10 grand down because it's 10 grand.
I think maybe they may have their own parameters in place. And I'm just throwing this out there. So maybe if it's a nonprofit organization that's asking them to come speak, maybe they don't collect a payment. If it's a profit organization, a university, some sort of institution, some sort of, Fortune 500, if Google asks you to come to speak there to, for whatever.
See, I would think the other way, because nonprofit companies normally make more than companies that's operating for a profit. Plus, they don't pay taxes. So
but
I would
a
think I'm gonna take
nonprofit
that
company
money.
is not intended. They have to make some money because they have salaries to pay to the people that work there, but they're not making any revenue based off of the services that they're performing.
Right.
At the end of the year, it should balance out. They should be giving more than they're taking in. Right. Whereas other institutions may not be. And with the prison, that gets tricky, right? Because prisons are privatized, so it's not that they're not for-profit institutions, but I think you also have to think about what aligns with your morals, your ethics, your beliefs, and what you want to give to the people. Like, am I coming to talk to y'all because I really love and want to motivate and inspire you, or am I coming to talk to y'all for the check? Because that can be different. And two things could be true.
I would think if you're doing all this stuff, you care about it. If you're going to go speak about the homelessness, then you care about the homelessness as a preacher in the church and stuff. If you're going to go speak to the boys, because you care about the young men. So you care about all these things. It's just you have to show some discernment in what you want to take a check for.
Yeah, and discernment in what you accept, because some assignments you just might have to say no. And
what if you have I'm sorry to cut you off, a congregation that's overgiving? Do you pull back and say no, or do you just let them give?
Well, just because they're giving doesn't mean it comes to you. Most pastors have a salary, so all of the offering that comes in, no matter who's overgiving, that doesn't mean that's his money.
No, I'm saying, but if you're doing some slick shit bait with the books, like if you
most of the time the pastor isn't the one that's dealing with the money.
Okay.
You have trustees you have a trustee board that they are like the accountants of the church. So they are accounting. They may be the ones to do something shiesty before the pastor does, because they're the ones accounting for the funds. So the pastor has a salary, he gets a paycheck. So
how do these and we got to get off this gram. How do these bishop guys get their hands on this money then?
Well, again, we're talking about, people who are, I'm not saying a pastor can't get his hands on the money, but, him being a pastor, he could be in his office, contact the people, Sister Pearl, I know, your husband died and you got that money. And I just want to let you know, you reap what you sow. So if you sow this seed into the congregation, we need $100,000 to help our football team, go to the championship for the little boys.
And they only need 8.
Exactly. So, it not to say preachers don't, but, in a lot of scenarios, it's sad to say church is a business.
I know. And so that's the thing where that kind of turns you off, because
it's just like a CEO in a corporation who gets a paycheck. He's not in the payroll office. He's not in the accounting office on a day-to-day counting the funds that are coming in. And it does turn you off, but at the same time, you have to think, don't they have a lifestyle that they have to, even if it's not a fancy...
in your young church-going days, like early, that's probably why you view it this way. Because I didn't know that as a kid. I thought like preachers did that, was preaching the word of God because they wanted people to know the word of God. I didn't know the whole logistics of a salary behind it, and church is a business, and all that kind of stuff. And this church is better than that church, and this church is more raggedy than that. Like, I had no concept of that as a kid.
I grew up in church, so I knew that, and I knew. But one thing I would say, our church wasn't like a huge church. I knew that the pastor got a salary. I knew there was a trustee board, and they was the ones that collected the money and allocated what money went where. But I did know, and this was back then, it's not like pastors were paid a lot to live this luxurious life. I remember our pastor lived on Lindbergh Boulevard. It had a nice, modest home, a nice car, but it wasn't like no Benz or anything. But he was also a professor at community college, so he worked a part-time job as well.
Right.
So it it's not a surprise to me, because I always thought to myself, who pays their bills? Who they got a car too. So either the church is paying their bills, or the church is giving them a paycheck like everybody else to pay their bills. So right. I kind of always know. But one thing before we get off it, I wanted to say, you said, not to say that the small churches, sometimes the small churches are worse than the big churches, because it's that direct, pastor does have more access to the congregation, and Sister Smith, her husband died and she get that pension check every month. Let me, whisper in her ear and let her know, you donate that back to the church and God is going to bless you.
Right.
So sometimes the smaller churches are worse. So just wanted to put that out there. Next, Graham.
Should sex work be legal?
It's one of them things where I think, this is just my naive mind, I don't like the fact that in the United States, there's 50 states, and something can be legal in one state and not another state.
Right.
That's like blows my mind. It's so trivial. It's not trivial. It's so simple, but it's like, that's stupid. So in Las Vegas, sex work is legal. How can one state let it be legal, but it's not legal anywhere else?
But you can't tell why it's legal there.
Well,
because it never closes, and people go in. What's done in Vegas stays in Vegas. That whole thing.
No, I know and like the Bunny Ranch and I get that. So that part of me is like, why have it legal in one place? But the moral part of me just says it's prostitution. It shouldn't be legal. Like it shouldn't be a sex working industry. You shouldn't have legal prostitutes. I mean,
wow, that's funny that you say that, because you think a woman should have agency over her body for abortions and stuff like that, or non-abortions.
I don't think abortion should be legal.
I know you don't think that. I'm saying a woman should have agency over her body to not have abortions or have abortions. I was just putting the other half out there. We know where you stand.
Okay.
But I'm saying, in that situation, you don't have agency over your body. You shouldn't be able to sell what's yours, because that should be illegal.
Well,
I don't see it that way.
Well, no. So I don't think a woman should have agency over their body when it comes to abortion either.
When it comes to not aborting.
So
your stand is, I don't no abortion. That's the agency that over your body. Like, I'm not. If I get pregnant, I'm not having an abortion. It's agency in both ways. Whether you want to or you don't. I'm looking at it.
You shouldn't be able to make the decision to say, I'm going to have an abortion. Right. So having agency over your body, I take that to mean you can decide what you want to do. Right. I don't think abortion should be an option.
Right.
So
I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm with you. I wasn't trying to paint you no other way.
Okay. So when it comes to,
like, why would you think that? Like, everybody know where you stand.
Agency over your body, to me, it implies,
just means to do what you want with your body.
So I don't think you should be able to.
Isn't that doing what you want?
Doing what you want is deciding to have an abortion. I don't think you should be able to decide that. So I don't think you should have agency over your body in that respect.
Isn't doing what you want not having an abortion too, just as well as it is as having an abortion? Either one is your decision. That's what I'm saying. If you get pregnant and want to have an abortion, you should be able to do that. If you don't want to have it, the other way around, then you stand firm and I'm going to have this baby.
So I'm saying that I don't think people should be able to make the decision.
Okay, all right. I don't want to. We're losing each other here.
Okay, so sex work. I don't think you should be. I mean, yeah, you can choose to sell your body if you want, but it's illegal. It should be illegal. Yeah, and maybe I go back to the biblical, the Bible, and it's like it's a crime. Like it's immoral. It's a sin.
It's immoral, but it's not illegal. Like, it's your body. I don't understand how you.
So how far does that go? Should an 18-year-old be able to? Because an 18-year-old is considered an adult.
Those are state. If the state law says that person's grown, then yeah.
I mean, it's just one.
It depends on.
And then you talk about the age of consent. So if the age of consent in some states is 14 or 16, like I just don't think that. I just don't agree that it should.
Yeah, but you're going. That's apples and oranges. We're talking about what's illegal and legal.
I don't think prostitution should be legal.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I think that a person should be able to do what they want to do with their body.
Anything
they want. I mean, people are into hurting themselves with masochists and sadism. You can do all that kind of shit and stick stuff in you. Like, you can do what you want with your body, but you can't sell it. Like, that makes no sense.
Nah, I don't. Not legally.
No
because
sense.
then you get into the if it's a legal profession, then what do we have? Unions for sex workers? What do they pay taxes?
Of course, they're never going to have that. But we know that there's high-end escort services out there that billionaires and millionaires use and operate with decent women in them. So know that America, it's a stigma against it. It's taboo, but they're out there.
It just makes me think too, like companies like that. What was the company that was built on people having affairs?
Ashley
Madison. Like, how is a company like that legal? Well, I guess because they're not selling sex, they're just selling relationships, and if you end up having sex, then that's on your own.
Yeah,
so I get that. Okay, it's like a dating site, but for married people. So it's not okay. I answer my own question.
Because cheating isn't illegal.
Yeah, I answer my own question.
It's immoral. You
and again,
do
they're not necessarily selling sex. They know what probably is going to come of it, but it doesn't mean that that's what they're selling. But, I don't think prostitution should be legal. I think that's the beginning of Sodom and Gomorrah again. The world coming to an end even faster than it did before. Like, now.
So you think the world hasn't come to an end when they've been selling pussy and ass and dick since the wheel was invented, the beginning of time?
Yeah, but to legalize it, that would just.
So you think that's what's been holding the world back? Once they legalize sex work, is this going to go fall apart?
No, but I think we just have to think about the downstream impact of that. Now, do we have little boys and girls growing up, and that's what they that's what they're going to yearn after to be their job? Like, I don't think it should be.
The world need ditch diggers too. And that's what OnlyFans is for. I mean, people growing up now wanting to do that. It's like, it's your body. You should be able to do what you want to do with it. That's no different from us saying, okay, you're a teacher at a school and you have an OnlyFans. Like, it's her body. She should be able to do on her off time what she want to do with her body.
Yeah, because OnlyFans isn't illegal, but you also have to be able to accept the consequences if somebody finds out. So if she was doing
sex work on there, that's illegal?
Yeah, if
but that's all they do on there.
OnlyFans? No, it's not. People have feet pages.
I know. People have feet pages. People
have
cake.
shower
people
pages.
Eat cake. People have shower pages. People fuck on OnlyFans. They get the most views, the most money. When people are fucking. So that's legal?
But it's not to say that
you're not making porn. It's not a production.
But it's not to say that that's sex work. It could be a couple. We could have an OnlyFans having sex. Or it could be somebody that people were dating. It doesn't mean it's prostitution just because they're recording it and they're, selling the views of it.
Is it prostitution when they're giving the money and they're giving the coins and they're buying the shit so you can jerk off and you can do stuff? I'm buying a service.
But you're not buying sex.
Okay.
I just don't think prostitution should be legal.
All right, what do you got?
I mean, it's you got strippers. That's like as far as it should go.
You got back rooms and strip clubs,
which is illegal.
It's not illegal.
Father's Day just passed.
Yep.
One of the things I will say, I don't know if your timeline was the same. I've seen a lot of love being given to fathers, and it really made me feel good for the men in my life, the men in other people's lives that I know of. I did not see, and again, maybe it's my timeline, and if it is just a reflection of my timeline, that means I'm doing a good thing in the discernment of what I view. But I didn't see no back talk against baby daddies or moms saying, "Oh, happy Father's Day to me. I'm a mommy and a daddy." Like, I ain't see none of that. It felt good. I don't think it's the same level of admiration that's given to moms, but maybe it's catching up. It ain't there yet, but maybe it's catching up.
But this year, it was a better, but it came from a decade of complaining.
Yeah.
20 or 2 decades of complaining of socks and ties and shit like that, or nothing at all. One thing that is still they have to fix is either say Happy Father's Day or not, but to say Happy Father's Day to all the active fathers is disrespectful. It's a problem because you never know why a father is inactive.
Yeah.
Also, if somebody wrote Happy Mother's Day to all the active mothers,
or
y'all
the great
would
moms,
flip the fuck out. Like women would flip out. Like, ho, we used to seeing Happy Mother's Day, not all this active mother shit. So, you know, if you're going to say Happy Father's Day, just say Happy Father's Day, but you don't need to put a caveat on it to say to all the active fathers.
Yeah, I can rock with that. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's like throwing a little shade out there when it's just supposed to be a compliment.
Because if it was in reverse, it would be, you know, it would be a problem. It would be like, you know, what do you mean? I'm a mom. And Mom's a mom. I
think, too, the precedent, unfortunately, has been set in society is that more likely it's more likely that dads are not in a child's life than moms are not in a child's life. But to counterbalance that, if somebody said, you know, Happy Mother's Day to all the emotionally stable moms, or like Happy Mother's Day to all the supportive moms, then it'd be like, why do you have to add like a qualifier on it?
Or Happy Mother's Day, this post is for all the good mothers.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, like what qualifies good?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, so I agree. There shouldn't be a qualifier. If you're going to say it, say it. You know, I don't, Father's Day doesn't bother me, you know, as much as Mother's Day does for me personally, you know, my own issues individually, familially. Father's Day, it doesn't have a negative.
I'm so disconnected from both of the days, but I do get a little teary-eyed, maybe not for myself, but I do enjoy seeing good moms like just doing their shit for their sons and daughters. I like seeing good dads doing their shit for their sons and daughters. So, and I can tell like when it's genuine because of how the kids react. So that's what I like to see. Like I can watch tons of videos like that where like the mom who came back from Kosovo to see her son graduate, like shit like that I can watch over and over and over.
And make yourself cry.
Yeah, because it's like, damn, like he thought his mom wasn't gonna be there, and she showed the fuck up for him, even though she was in Kosovo.
Yeah.
And look at his reaction. So yeah, that kind of shit is I can watch all day long. So that will make me emotional before just the day, like waking up, like, oh my God, it's Mother's Day, like, or it's Father's Day, like.
Well, I think for me too, just the yearning to be a mom, you know, the broken relationship with my mom, like those things affect me differently on Mother's Day than it does for Father's Day.
Yeah. That's a wrap. Act 2 the podcast, episode 180. Before we go, we want to say rest in peace to Willie Mays. He passed away. He was 93 years old. Everybody knows his contribution to Major League Baseball. But rest in peace, Willie Mays, and condolences to his family. Act 2 the podcast, episode 180 coming to a close. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Podcast Index, Podchaser, Google Podcasts, Player FM. All the platforms you can catch us on. It's
your girl Tosh, the co-host with the mostest.
Your boy International Walk, throwing it back to
your girl Tosh, the co-host with the mostest. Just a reminder to everyone to be kind. You never know what anyone is going through. You never know when you may be in the presence of an angel. So just because it's a stranger doesn't mean that you should treat them any differently.
If you fuck with us, you fuck with us. If you don't, you should. Peace. That should be